create a sense of belonging with meaningful workspaces for global employees.
Thank you so much. I got to tell you, this stage and this microphone, I had two dreams growing up. One was to be a singer in a band, and one was to be in organizational development. And so, lucky for you, I'm not going to sing to you today, but I'm inclined. I'll try not to break out into song, that's for sure. So I'm here, most of what I'm going to talk about today, you've probably heard a lot already in a lot of our speakers. But so I'm here today to talk about a lot of the same themes and give some real life examples from where I work on how we were able to do this effectively. So at the core of what we're trying to do, it's enhance our employee experience to give our employees a place where they feel like they're doing meaningful work, but have meaning and feel like they belong. In a world where it's so hard to keep employees engaged or get them to stay, this was the core of what we did over the last couple of years in an effort to make sure that we got through some of the toughest times that we went through. So what I want, oh, I have to use this thing. How do I make it go? I don't see a green button. Well, I'm good I'm not doing an IT presentation, right? There we go. Next one. Okay, yep. So thank you to Bob for bringing me here today to talk about this. Bob is the HRIS that we use to do a lot of our community building. So I'm from Keypath. You might have heard of it. We're an online education company, and we're all over the world. We're a global ed tech company that partners with universities to help them bring their programs online. And we have students from all over the world who we're supporting from the very moment they're accepted all the way through their graduation. Part of our value proposition for our employees is this is a place where you can be you and belong. So you come here, you get to be recognized for the uniqueness that you are and do meaningful work. All right. What am I doing wrong? I think it's broken.
I had to use this all day because I'd be the same. I think.
There we go. Okay.
Just the green one at the top.
All right. So before I get into the future work, let's talk a little bit about what life has been like at Keypath over the last couple of years. So hands up if you work for a global company. Most people here. Okay, great. So I'm in a global role, and one of the hardest things for me in my global role is to align different regions. Does anyone else have that same problem? How do we rally around the same mission? We are made up of over 750 of the most incredible, hardworking, diverse people that I've ever worked with in my career. And I've been in this space for 15 years now. But how do we rally around the same mission? Then the global pandemic hits, and we are forced to rally around the same thing. We're all personally affected by this in different ways, but also the same ways. Working for an education company, the work doesn't stop in a global pandemic. Often people are going back to school because they're at home. But our employees are now supporting their students through a global pandemic and also going through it themselves. And so we had employee engagement groups before the pandemic, and we knew that they were very important. Traditionally, some organizations I worked for call them culture clubs, and they organize the potluck or the happy hours and get people excited. But we really need to ramp up our engagement groups. And so what we did is we created engagement groups based on the passions of our employees so that they could feel like they're not just coming to do work, but we're here to showcase them, to give them passion and give them meaning. So our engagement groups are sort of set up. We have Team Green, what we call, for those dedicated to environmental issues. We have a charity group who do our philanthropic efforts. We have the group that likes to party, who like to do the potlucks and the happy hours. And the most standout group we had this year was called our DISC group, which is our DEI group, our Diversity and Inclusion Standing Committee. I would say that this group, along with our other groups, held the most weight in getting our employees through a global pandemic. And let me tell you why. This group of folks were now, we had a lot of employees who were sitting at home by themselves, and they no longer had a community. They couldn't go out. Their families were in different countries. And they were at work most of their days, and they just wanted to be around other people that were like them, that could give them a sense of belonging. And we knew that we had to really enhance that to get that even further. And so our DEI groups really went into overdrive this year. We created series of learning events, and it wasn't just about recognizing different communities or celebrating them, but as a commitment to making sure that we transform education, we had to do that within. An example of something that we did was an Ask Me Anything series. You as an organization, I would highly recommend this. This was a chance for volunteers of different minority groups throughout Keypath across the globe to be leaders and sit on a panel and tell their stories. That's okay, I love Lizzo. This was a chance for them to tell our story. So for example, we had a valued member of our transgender community come on. We had single mothers in our gender equality panel, and they went in and they told their stories, and not just about what their experiences were, but it helped people be allies. It helped people understand how to work in an inclusive environment and help people belong. What this did is it really fueled a fire with our employees. They now knew that they could either come to work and do their work, I can be part of an engagement group, or all of the things that I worry about because I'm a minority, I don't have to anymore because I'm being heard and I'm doing meaningful work and I belong. So we did this a lot, and we got so much feedback from our employees that said, because you did this, I got through the pandemic. I was lonely, I came to work, and you gave me this space. So as we start to open up our offices, we're entering into the future of work. We can't let that stop. We can't just say, oh, pandemic is over. That has to stop. No, we're entering the future of work. So what do I mean by future of work? Technological, generational, and social shifts. Everyone's working all over the place. Employees want choice and flexibility. There's the Great Resignation, which we talked about earlier. And there's such a demand for these meaningful and inclusive work environments that are not afraid to address social issues. So how do we continue to do that? So employees are choosing companies that provide this sort of meaningful space. Here's just a couple of things that they're demanding. And these things they existed prior to the pandemic, but our millennials are a lot louder, our Gen Zs are a lot louder. They want stability, security, competitive pay. So our DEI efforts just don't stop at engagement. We have to really look and see, are we doing equitable pay? Are we doing all of these things? They want career opportunities and they want the ability to grow. Another thing that we started, and we're in our second cohort, is our Global Future Leaders program. So people can now apply to an exclusive program for 6 months where they're put into a rigorous leadership program. The best part of this program, and another recommendation for you all, is our Global Leader Mentor. We have employees who this is their first year in the corporate space, and they are being mentored by our global CEO. And that is so meaningful for them. They also want to feel connected, again, and have that community. And so we launched as much technology as possible, and with the help of with Bob, our HRIS, we're now into one system. Again, if you're a global leader, how many of you all have your regions doing different spreadsheets and different systems and all of that stuff? We were able to use technology to help us with that. Going along community and belonging, they want to be part of our decision making. They don't want to be told what to do anymore. So within our disc group, for example, we created a position called our community leaders. These are people that belong to our minority groups or are strong allies of our minority groups. They go out and they continue their learning, and then they bring that information into the organization for us. They're involved in what we do as an organization around DEI, and that made them feel so empowered. Recognition, yes, we have awards and we do all of those things, but in Bob, there's a tool called kudos and shoutouts. And I can tell you it's the most used tool that we have. People now have at their fingertips a chance to recognize their peers. Think about if you just got recognized for the smallest thing in your mind and everyone could see it, all the way up the ladder, all the way in Malaysia. That would be so important to you. We want consideration for visible and non-visible minority communities. We have a lot of people that just went through this pandemic and are having a lot of trouble with mental health. We have to think about how we're supporting them. Think about how you can do programs or training, or even just give them some time off. Give them the space that they need to feel like we recognize you for whatever you're going through. We're here to support you. I made a little checklist of what organizations can do based off of my learning. So first and foremost, life is never going to be the same. If you're just hoping to go back to an organization pre-pandemic, that everyone works in an office and does the potlucks. That's not enough anymore. Accept the change. The train is moving. Are you on it? Build long-term scalable strategies that aren't performative. DEI is trendy right now. Don't check a box. Make sure that what you're doing is meaningful because employees can really see that. The other piece, and one big area that we're focusing right now is, do your people managers even know how to coach in a hybrid space? How to build a community within their own teams, a community set on meaning and belonging? A lot of people are very nervous about that, so let's start from the top down. Invest in your technology and HRIS like Bob, or anything that you could do that supports people to work in one space. And last but not least, your employees know best what they are looking for. Do you have the mechanisms in place to hear their feedback on what we're doing? Because we've made a lot of mistakes, but we're learning and we're growing. So make sure you're hearing from them and you have the mechanism to do it. I'll leave you with one thing. If you're still wondering how important this stuff is to an organization or to the people that work in your organizations, I want you to picture a girl straight out of university from a single mother, low income family, okay? She just gets her big first leadership job and she walks into a boardroom filled with people that don't look like her, people that are a lot older than her, and she has crippling anxiety that she's gonna look stupid. Crippling imposter syndrome. And then I want you to picture that girl sort of having her arms wrapped around with leaders who gave her a voice, who didn't say, we like you despite your minority status. We love you because of your minority status. You're important to us. Your diversity of thought and experience is important to us. Picture that person and give them a platform to learn and grow and have a voice and make mistakes. And then you'll see them in New York at a summit on a stage, not being able to work the clicker. But that was my journey. I started very entry level, and within 10 years, I worked my way up the ladder. A lot of that had to do with my hard work, I want to say that, but I was given the opportunity because I felt like I had meaning, and I felt like I was valued. So that's the takeaway for you all today. Thank you for listening through technical issues, and I'm around on LinkedIn or in the back if you have any questions. Thank you.